and I welcome the opportunity today to ask the Minister whether the Government will consider banning slug pellets containing metaldehyde from discount stores and garden centres so that they're not readily available to households. Britain has just recently introduced an outright ban on metaldehyde, and that will come into effect in spring 2022. And they've done this following research that carried out by an expert group on pesticides and health and safety that found incontrovertible evidence that pellets containing this chemical are harmful to wildlife, pets and freshwater supplies, including ornamental ponds. And while any outright ban would of course require consultation and a lead-in time, surely we could stop the use of these pellets in suburban gardens and public grounds. I volunteer with a hedgehog rescue, and every year they take in hedgehogs foaming at the mouth after ingesting slugs and snails that have consumed the pellets. And hedgehogs, as the Minister knows, are a protected species under Appendix 3 of the Berne Convention and the Wildlife Act of 1976 and the Amended Act of 2000. However, when it comes to the risks to wildlife from the use of metaldehyde, it's not just the hedgehogs that are affected. Birds, including birds of prey, have been poisoned, as have foxes and family pets. In fact, in Britain, it's estimated that at least 10 family pets or dogs die a year just from ingesting the slug pellets. And then when it rains, the metaldehyde is washed off the soil and into watercourses, which includes ponds, and leads to the poisoning of fish, toads and frogs. So in 2019, we declared a biodiversity emergency, and I think that we were the first country to do so. So, Minister, I'm asking you today, would you consider as a bare minimum that we would restrict the use of these pellets in household gardens? Because today anyone can just walk into any of the very well-known discount stores that we see around all of our towns and villages and on the high street, and they can buy these slug pellets for as little as €1.50. And I'd also encourage that the ministers would roll out a public awareness campaign, because I don't think people are deliberately putting down slug pellets to destroy wildlife. They want to protect their plants, and they're not aware of the alternatives. So we know that ferric phosphate has been proven to work just as effectively as metaldehyde, but we should be showing people ultimately, rather than even using ferric phosphate, that they can make their gardens wildlife friendly by taking very, very small measures. Simple things like creating a small entrance gap in your fence or your gate will encourage hedgehogs to come in, and if you encourage your neighbours to do the same, you can ensure then that hedgehogs have a viable habitat and food to survive in the suburbs. And also, I think any of us who are into gardening and particularly wildlife watching will know that if you can encourage hedgehogs and birds into your garden, then you definitely don't need any slug pellets, because they're the best slug and snail deterrent that you can have in your garden. So I suppose my question for you today, Minister Noonan, is: will the Government give a commitment to roll out a public awareness campaign and give serious consideration to, as I said, at least just stopping the sale of these products to people who are just ordinary households who don't need them for their gardens, and that there's other alternatives that are there that are safe, and encouraging them to I suppose, make space for nature in their gardens?
First of all, I really want to thank Senator Boylan for raising this really important issue, and I suppose I have a response here from the Department of Agriculture, but just in quick response to your two asks out of this commencement around the restriction of use in household gardens. I wholeheartedly agree. I think the fact that you can buy this stuff off the shelf in supermarkets and garden centres for domestic use, I think really people should absolutely stop doing that, and I don't recommend people use those products. I think they're doing huge damage. We've seen in the past with song thrushes and the impact on wild birds as well. And certainly we will give consideration to a public awareness campaign from our side, from MPWS side. We're more than happy to do that. I'll just give the Department of Agriculture a response and then sum up, and we can just exchange those views as well. The Department of Agriculture, Food and the Marine is the competent authority in Ireland with the responsibility for the authorisation of plant protection products, including slug pellet products. Pesticide active substances contained in plant protection products are approved centrally at EU level based on detailed assessment prepared by Member State regulatory authorities and a rigorous peer review process managed by the European Food and Safety Authority. Products are subsequently authorised nationally by relevant competent authorities in accordance with evaluation and decision-making criteria agreed at EU level and taking account of long agri-environmental conditions. Products are only authorised if they can be reliably concluded that the intended uses have no unacceptable impacts on human or animal health and the environment. And we've seen with the impending ban in the UK and Northern Ireland that there is a considered different view out there. Potential impacts on small mammals such as hedgehogs and other wildlife were considered as part of the active substance approval and product authorisation processes in all cases. Products may be designated for professional use only, or may be permitted for amateur domestic use depending on specific intended uses and their risk profiles. They may only be used for purposes and the manner for which they have been authorised as outlined on the approved product label. Slug pellet products authorised for sale and use in Ireland contain one of 2 EU-approved pesticide active substances. The products are used to minimise the potential for damage to crops or garden plants. Products should only be used if necessary, and users should always consider the potential for alternative control methods, such as sowing seeds to a greater soil depth or planting slug-resistant crop or plant varieties. Most of the products are authorised for domestic use by amateur users, but there are some that are for professional use only. Products allowed for amateur use generally have a lower risk profile, less concentrated formulations and lower applications rates, etc. But again, I would agree with the contention that we really shouldn't be using them in domestic settings. Active substance or product authorisations are time-limited, which are reviewed by Member States if an application for renewal or approval of the active substance is submitted or withdrawn and there is no application for renewal. Subsequently, Member States review authorisations for products containing the active substance based on the outcome of the EU review process, including amateur uses in accordance with EU procedures. Current EU approval period for one of the EU-approved active substances used in slug pellet products is due to expire on the 31st of May 2023. An application to renew its approval is now being assessed by Poland on behalf of all Member States. Poland is due to submit an assessment report to the EFSA towards the end of this year. EFSA then will arrange for a detailed peer review to be carried out involving public consultation and input from Member State technical experts. The assessment and peer review will be based on the most up-to-date scientific information available, including information on possible impacts on small mammals and other wildlife. But again, I just want to give my commitment that certainly, and just to say here in the Shannon, that I don't recommend that people should be using these products domestically. I really think that there are alternatives and people shouldn't be using them, and we will give active consideration to a public awareness campaign on this. Thank you.
I really appreciate the Minister's response for his own department, and I'd be happy to work with you just on such a public awareness campaign, as would the hedgehog rescue organisations and that I volunteer with. I suppose I'm disappointed that we can't get a commitment from the Minister of Agriculture just around even putting a stop on them being used in those discount stores, because I agree that farmers are trained in how to use these and they know when and they should and shouldn't be used, but the incontrovertible evidence from the British expert committee on this has found that they are very, very harmful. So I suppose I would just echo what you said and encouraging people to not use these products at all. But it would be better if they were taken off the shelves, because we all know that we might live in the bubble and follow the news, but most people are just going in and they pick something up, and if it's cheap, if it's $1.50 and they think it's going to protect their garden plants, then they probably don't realise the damage that they're doing. But I do really appreciate the Minister's response on it. Thank you.
Senator, and again, you showed me some of the photographs of beautiful hedgehogs just before we came into the Shannon, and they're just so essential to our biodiversity, and so essential that we have connected habitats and connected for nature. That the natural pest control should work far better. Having barn owls on a farm is a natural predator and a natural pest control in itself. So we really need to restore nature as part of this bigger picture. And looking at the potential impending UK and Northern Ireland ban, we're going to have a situation where one part of this island is going to have a ban on such products and not down south. So I do think that an EU-wide level review should take place in this regard. We are in the depths of a biodiversity crisis. I think it's really important that we do that. And there are alternative slug control methods out there. Certainly there's a different set of circumstances for commercial crop growers, and we recognise those. But once again, I would reiterate to the public that they should not be using these products in their gardens. Thank you.